pageant, the 12th District Republican Party of Georgia and its chair, Mike Welch, and the Bullitt County Republican Party. And tonight's sponsors, Jack Kingston for the United States Senate, Jim Denton for Bullitt County Commissioner, and Heather Banks McNeil for Bullitt County Clerk. I welcome you to the beautiful campus of Geechee Technical College for the first of 4 debates between our 5 candidates for Congress from Georgia's 12th District. This time I have a few housekeeping items. If you could please make sure that all electronic devices are set to silent or turned off for the duration of the debate. We also ask that during the debate, if you could keep all sounds and noises other than applause to a minimum. We ask that you please not make any inappropriate cat calls or noises that will distract our candidates up here. If you disagree with them, you can talk with them afterwards. Ladies and gentlemen, up here on the stage, we have our 5 Republican candidates from Georgia's wonderful and beautiful 12th District. First, we have Mr. Rick W. Allen. Next, we have State Representative Delvis Dutton. Next, we have Mr. John Stone. Next, we have Mrs. Diane Van. And finally, Mr. Eugene Yu. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time I ask if you will please rise and join me in honoring our nation through the singing of the national anthem. Tonight's performance of the national anthem is Thank you. You may be seated. It is now my honor and privilege to introduce tonight's moderator. He serves as a member of the Statesboro City Council and is well known in our area for his media work throughout the years. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will please join me in welcoming Councilman Phil Boyd.
Figures I'd have to move that up. All right, we've got 5 candidates, so we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get right to the questions. And I thought since today is the last day for sign up for Obamacare, we'll go ahead and start with this question. Polls have shown that a majority of Americans understand that Obamacare is detrimental. Would you please outline specific health care reforms? Oh, wait, you know what? I'm sorry. I jumped right into the questions and I didn't even give these guys a chance to introduce themselves. I'm glad somebody said something. Anyway, we're going to start with Mr. Allen. We'll get candidates. So you guys got 2 minutes each to introduce yourselves and make an introductory statement, and then we'll get to an Obamacare question. So, Rick Allen, we'll start with you. Go right ahead.
All right, Phil, thank you. And thank you for moderating. Greetings to all, and thank you to the Georgia GOP for putting this on. This is a great turnout. Thank you for being here. I tell you, it's exciting and fun to come together with fellow Republicans and talk about the issues, particularly as Phil mentioned, the Obamacare. You know, my wife and I have been married for 40 years and been going to the same church for 40 years. We've raised our 4 children in that church, and they're all happily married and gainfully employed, and we're tickled to death about that. And we've got 6 grandchildren, and we've got one on the way to be here in 2 weeks. So, I have been in the district. My family's been in the district for generations. 35 years ago, my wife and I took our savings and we started a small construction business. As I look at the nation, what has happened to this country? You know, for 2.5 centuries, we were the envy of the world. Are we not smart enough? Do we not work hard enough? I don't think so. We've got a leadership problem in Washington. Those people there are self-serving, and all they do is work on their re-election campaigns. And this country, in the meantime, is going off the cliff. The thing we have to do in Washington is bring common sense business experience. We must bring budgeting expertise. You know, I've worked in my community the last 35 years, and we can solve our problems in our community. But we can't do it until we stop watching them. That's why I'm running for Congress, and thank you for allowing me to be here.
Representative Dutton.
Thank you, Phil. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for coming. A lot of friendly faces, some new faces. It's good to be home. For many of you that are not aware, I grew up in Glenville and came over here in '96 to attend Georgia Southern, working at UPS across the street, and met my wife. And at age 22, while going to Southern and working at UPS, I started a well drilling company, and have been doing that ever since. And about the time of 2009, 2010, I was having difficulty watching the evening news or watching Fox News without my blood pressure going through the roof. And I found myself, when we went through revival at Trinity Baptist, realizing that I was unwilling to do what I expected others to be doing. And I answered that call after about a 28-day journey. I've been in Atlanta serving in that capacity as state representative for the last 4 years. And we have constantly, from the day I got elected, been fighting Obamacare and any implementation on the state level. And we've been successful in that. But we have to take that to D.C. and we have to address trying to get that repealed in every effort. Also been trying to push every option that we had to get Congress to pass a balanced budget amendment to where we can get the debt under control and this out of control spending. And I truly believe that I'm in this race because I have a proven record that matched up against Barrow in November will give us that advantage to defeat him in November with a clear, proven, constitutional, conservative record that I think if you take the time to check it out, you'll see who I've been for 4 years and who I'll continue to be in D.C. Thank you.
John Stone.
I'm John Stone. You can read my full bio on our website. I won't waste a lot of time talking about that tonight. What I will mention is that a great saying of Benjamin Franklin, that experience is a good teacher, but a fool can learn with no other. Now, I think sometimes as Republicans, we can't even learn with experience. And what has really damaged us in this race, what's ridiculous is that right now we shouldn't be having this debate. We should have a Republican representative already in office. But because we blew the debate issue in the last election in 2012 by having bad political consultants tell our nominee not to debate John Barrow, we sit here today with 5 people on the stage. And we've already started down that same broken road again right now by the fact this debate should have been last year. We had Georgia Southern and the Georgia Southern newspaper, the Statesboro Herald, agreeing to host our debate last October, and yet the other candidate on the stage, Rick Allen, would not agree to debates. We had a challenge for 4 televised debates, which would have given us the edge that we needed in this race to put our message out in front of the media. And instead, we're sitting here 28 days away from the election, having the first debate, with the final debate scheduled after a lot of folks have already voted. That's unacceptable. It's going right back to the same failed game plan that we had before of failing to debate. I debated John Barrow in 5 televised debates in 2008 when I was your nominee in the old Republican district. And we have to get aggressive and go after that again and quit ducking the issues. Now, I realize I'm not being pleasant with these comments, but these comments need to be made. We have to do 2 things. We have to win back our seat from John Barrow, but we also have to win back our party from the establishment Republicans that have hijacked it in Washington, D.C. I don't know how many of you noticed last Friday, they had a voice vote on raising federal spending and raising the deficit on the floor, in which your Republican members were not allowed to even put their name on it. We have to have a new party, and I've pledged to provide that with new leadership if I'm your next congressman. Thank you.
Diane Vaughn.
Diane Van.
Van, sorry.
Van like a moving van. I live in Macon. I moved to Georgia 30 years ago with my husband. He took a job as a traveling representative for SELA, now Novartis. He's had a third of Georgia as his territory. I understand that this job is a traveling job, and believe me, being out on the road, I really appreciate all the time my husband is spent there driving. I live in Macon. I was a nurse working at Macon State College when Obama was running for office, and I listened to him and I thought, why would the Democratic Party put forward this man as candidate? Sounded like a man who, I was in East Berlin when I was stationed in Germany back in the 70s and went behind the Iron Curtain. And Obama sounded like my tour guide on that tour bus. And I thought, why would the Democratic Party put this man up for president? So I actually left my job. I had to leave my job to run. I ran in the 2010 8th District election. Austin Scott won. He went on and was successful against Jim Marshall. And he's done a decent job since. When it comes to running for Congress, they want an address in Georgia, or at least they promise you will move to Georgia. They don't ask for a social security card. They don't ask for a driver's license. They don't ask for a birth certificate. And you just really have to prove that you're a serious candidate, which I had done in 2010. So the fact that Obama was reelected in 2012, I wanted to go back to my nursing career, but I could not face seeing Obamacare implemented. I could not pretend that was going to be acceptable or work out. So I stayed away from the nursing profession and just stayed constant at working at Republican activities. The fact that John Barrow is still in office at this point in time, 8 years duration, no changes made as far as really deepening the harbor as it should be in Savannah. None of the improvements that you would expect for this area that should have been made. What's going on? We need a Republican in that office. Thank you.
Eugene, you.
I always asking to myself, am I doing the right thing at the right time, with the right place, in the right reason? Good evening, my fellow Georgian and Republican, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eugene Yu. I'm running for 12th District, U.S. Congress. Teenager boy came from the Korea to the America, Augusta, Georgia, 42 years ago. Now I'm standing in front of you. I'm running for U.S. Congress. This is what I call pure American dream. This dream is real. I believe in this nation. We live in a great nation. We owe it to our children, their children to preserve this great nation. In Washington, people, they completely forgot about the common sense. They are out of control. They need a new solution, new blood, new idea. Let me explain to you about myself, who I am. My wife, Joni, and I, we married 35 years. I worked at the local factory at the midnight shift assembly line making $2 an hour when I was a 10th grade in high school. In the weekend, I was working the Piggly Wiggly as a stock boy and the bank boy. And also, same time, I worked as a volunteer firefighter. I did the entire my high school year. And I served the U.S. Army. Later, I served as the deputy sheriff of Richmond County, and I was doing for business for the last 20 years for the refurbishing military vehicles. I know that in Washington, they need somebody know how about the business sense, common sense. Vote for you. Thank you.
All right, now we'll move to the question section of the debates. Each candidate will have 90 seconds for their answers. And let me just remind you that when Lawton holds up the yellow card there. That's going to give you 20 seconds. And we are going to hold you pretty tight to the 90 seconds because we've got 5 candidates and we want to get as many answers in as we can. All right, here we go. We're going to start this one with Representative Dutton. Polls have showed that the majority of Americans understand that Obamacare is detrimental. Will you please outline specific health care reforms you would make if elected to Congress?
Well, first of all, we've got to get rid of Obamacare. We have to get government control out of our personal health care, period. When I was elected in Atlanta as a freshman, the first thing I was hit with was implementation of the exchanges. And we had overwhelming majority of the Republican Party thinking that we had to do this because if we didn't, they would. And what I found was a committed minority with truth on their side can affect anything. And we were able to keep that from happening. And we actually ended up with a lot of Democrat support because we won them over with the aspect, do you want anyone having control of your personal health care right? Do you want Republicans having your control? And they said no. So what we've got to do in D.C. is got to go there, get government out of the way in our personal private health care rights and put it back into the world of the private sector and allow for the innovation, independent doctors, the innovation in the medical profession instead of a government box that all of us have to live in. So the first thing we have to do is get rid of Obamacare in that step before we can do anything else. Thank you.
John Stone.
Okay, first off, I apologize if I continue to get shorter the whole time you're watching. I got a defective chair here in the middle. I noticed I was sitting down at level with Diane and Delvis, and all of a sudden I was looking up like I was a kid at a grown-up stage. So y'all pardon me if I keep slouching down. I can't think I'm slouching, but I don't feel like it.
My chest is also awesome.
My leg is hanging in the air. That's why I stand up.
John Stone's going to blame that on me, too.
That's right. Sure.
Yeah, my name's going to come up again. I meant to tell you, I fixed your chair before you came in here.
Now we have a good question. So, on to the issue of health care, what we have to do, we have to repeal Obamacare, but this is a classic example of lack of leadership in Washington that we have right now with our current leadership team. You can't just be against everything Obama and the Democrats are doing. You have to be for something positive, some true conservative alternative to what they're doing in terms of health care reform, and we haven't had that. As a matter of fact, we've had leadership that said, let's not introduce anything, let's just let it be against Obamacare. So suddenly we have Obamacare that's going into effect. We need comprehensive, conservative, free market health care reform that gets people excited. There's a way to do it specifically, and that is by repealing Obamacare with a new bill that opens up the congressional health care plan to open access to all Americans. If it's good enough for John Barrow, it's good enough for us. This is a simple way to do it. It opens it up. It guarantees community rating guaranteed issue, which means you can get coverage regardless of pre-existing condition at an affordable price under the same plan that John Barrow has by paying your own premium. This doesn't affect any private sector plan. There are no mandates on anyone, on employers or individuals. It opens it up, it solves the problem, and it gives people something positive to be for without costing our government anything. It's a simple solution that's already been proposed at the state level by the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. As far as state high-risk plans, we can simply expand that, open it up, and give people something dynamic to be for. This is the kind of leadership that we have to have and why we need new leadership. Thank you.
Diane Van.
Well, when Cuba was taken over by Castro, a person that was affected told me that he changed health care. When Hitler took over Germany, he took over health care. So Obamacare doesn't surprise me at all. In the event, I met a man in Douglas. He said that he had a Blue Cross Blue Shield plan that's changed a little bit after the deadline. His wife got a new Blue Cross Blue Shield card, went to the doctor's office and was told she couldn't get treatment unless she paid for it herself. That card wouldn't cover it. His premium for himself and his wife and 2 children went up $1,000 a month. He knows of somebody that went up $1,700 a month, and he explained that everybody will be affected December 1st. As a healthcare provider, I know that you don't hire IRS agents if you want better care. The healthcare world has a lot of problems within itself. It's physician, heal yourself. But in the event of third-party payment has separated people from getting better prices in healthcare. We have monopolies at the hospital level that need to be broken up. We need some active recruitment of good plans, and I would support something at the federal level that was for catastrophe insurance for everybody provided through the government. But other than that, I believe that Obamacare can be gutted. I believe in the free market system. I believe we have a commodity there that everybody wants, and it will work out. We can take the government out of it.
Eugene,
We all know this Obamacare is a terrible plan. The first time in the politics, as you know, I'm entering the first time in politics, I give the Obamacare, if I give the report card, I give the F. You can interpret it whatever you want, the F. Now, the insurance, affordable care, that is almost 20% of our GDP. That magnitude of that kind of amount of money, but yet, folks in Washington, let's pass it. Let's look at what's in it. That's kind of folks we running our nation. We must repeal this Obamacare. We must come up with a very comprehensive new health care law. Just we have Tom Price and our congressman put out a new bill, the medical bill, such as stop a third-party payer system, let the insurance company across the state line. Let's reform the tort system so that the doctor can do business that much easier and cheaper way. So we must repeal this Obamacare. Thank you.
and Rick Allen.
Well, we're going to be unanimous on the repealing of Obamacare, I can assure you. Somebody asked me what's the first bill you'll introduce, and that would be it. Yeah, there are a lot of problems with health care. The one thing that I don't understand is why do we send $1 to Washington and we get maybe 20, 25 cents back with all these strings attached? Is that the way to do health care, folks? It's the most inefficient way to do health care. You know, the states compete for business. They compete for manufacturing. Why don't we put our states in a competition with health care? Why doesn't Georgia work to have the healthiest people in the country? Why don't we say, why don't you move to Georgia? We got the healthiest folks, we've got the best health care, we've got the most efficient health care in the United States right here in Georgia. I tell you, I was talking to some folks out in Texas, they got it figured out there. In fact, they passed a lot of tort reform. They got every insurance company in the business playing in Texas right now. And that's the kind of leadership we need at the state level in Georgia to get the businesses in here so we can get these premiums down. Y'all, competition is what brings down costs. Right now, in this nation, we pay twice as much on health care as anywhere in the world. The only bill I've seen right now in Washington is Tom Price's bill. But we got to get this out of Washington. We got to get back, like I said, to our communities, and our states will solve this problem, and then we'll compete with California and New York. They can do what they want to up there, but we will have an efficient system here. Thank you.
All right, we'll start this round of questions with John Stone. John, many of the citizens in the 12th District have family ties to the military. Where would you draw the line for military intervention in the Ukraine?
First off, I'll get up to the right height to answer the question. I would not have the U.S. Intervene militarily in the Ukraine. We've got to stop using our military forces as the world's policemen. It absolutely has to end at some point. Right now, we can certainly exert what pressure we can with sanctions. We can work with our allies, but no, we should not be sending troops to the Ukraine. We shouldn't send them to half the places we've been sending them. It's time to start keeping our folks home, lowering that op-tempo rate, and if we need to deploy troops somewhere, we've got a great place on our southern border where we need some security there before we secure other major borders. It's simply that we cannot, with the budget challenges that we have, with the money restraints we currently have on our Department of Defense, we cannot continue being the world's policeman. We have to start spending the money at home, securing ourselves, and taking care of our military families. If we put somebody in harm's way, it better be to defend this country and not another. Thank you.
Ms. Van?
When Obama, I'm afraid I cannot trust Obama as commander-in-chief. I was in the military when Jimmy Carter was president. That was tough enough. If I was in the military now, I'd probably have to get out. But intervention in the Ukraine, again, putting our soldiers over there to fight, no way. Not under Obama's leadership. I'm sorry. We need to really, really focus on our military. They're being treated very shabbily. We need to reinstate some things they've lost during this administration and look to their safety and safekeeping. Thank you.
You know, I worked in the military when Mr. President Jimmy Carter. I was in the military when President Jimmy Carter was.
Minute President Obama reduced our military, guess what? Russia invaded, tried attacking Ukraine. We must keep our military strong. Just like I told you from the very beginning, common sense. If you're strong enough, nobody even dare to mess with you. The country, the person is no different. Minute we start getting smaller and smaller, guess what? Everybody's starting slapping, kicking here and there. However, no, I'm against sending our troops to the Ukraine. However, we need independent energy. We need to drill more oil. We need to start under the Keystone Pipe, so we start to produce more oil, so we don't have to depend on oil to overseas. That hurts the Russians, their pocket money. That's the only way we can get it back to the Russia the way they trying to do Ukraine. So my point, we want to remain not only just stay where we at. We need a much more stronger military and for our national security. And thank you.
We've got the greatest military in the history of civilization, and my hat's off to our soldiers, our airmen, the Navy, and the Marine Corps, and our Coast Guard. They are one mean fighting machine. You know, I have a friend, his father retired when he was at 16 years in, and he said, "Why did you retire? Or why did you leave before retirement?" He said, "Man, the fighting Navy is a whole lot better than the peaceful Navy. We're real good at fighting, but keeping peace is a real problem." That's the problem we've had. You know, our enemies know that we are weak economically. You think about it, we put $4 trillion into this money supply. They know that. You know, they watch CNBC. They know that the markets are very unstable. They know we've got a $17 trillion debt. And yeah, we've got a military that we must fund properly to defend our borders. And we have spent a lot of time, and a lot of effort, and a lot of good soldiers and folks who are wounded to go to other areas. And frankly, those remain rogue nations, and we can't seem to convince them otherwise. So we must fund our military, and we must grow this economy and grow jobs, or it's going to be difficult dealing with our enemies out there.
Representative Dutton.
Yes, sir. First, I'll say we're in a no no-win situation with the situation that's going on in Ukraine because of the lack of leadership we have in the White House. Our military does not even know what to expect out of the White House. So, no, we cannot invest anything into this because, we don't have a leg to stand on. Any action we take right now because of the inaction that we've seen over the course of this administration. But I'll echo what these gentlemen have said and what Ms. Diana said, that we have the greatest military in world history. And along with the border comment, we have the weakest border in the world. But the concern is that we're not giving a consistent example to our military forces of what to expect from the leadership in this country. And we're not fulfilling the promises that we made to the military and to the retirees out of the military. So I think first and foremost, the most important thing we have to do is fulfill the promises that we make, no matter what that costs us. And be careful of what we do promise. But as far as Ukraine goes, we're in deep trouble in any situation as far as foreign policy with the current administration that we have and the lack of integrity and consistency out of it. Thank you.
We'll start this round of questions with Diane Van. Diane, what changes would you make to the government in order to improve our economy, and or what government regulations would you eliminate so private business can increase industry production and employ more workers?
I think improving our economy is almost impossible with the current leadership, particularly on the Democratic side. But in the event, I would make an effort to follow through with the plans for the deepening of the Savannah Harbor, for changing the interchange in Macon. I-16 and I-75 were left unchanged, been dropped. I do fear that Obama's doing the same thing here that LBJ did in the 60s to Brooklyn Air Force Base in Mobile, Alabama. They didn't vote for him, and so he arranged that facility closed. I think that there are so many things that would improve our economy. In the event, we need to have the Keystone Pipeline, without a doubt. And we need to open up, remove a lot of regulations that Obama's czars have been placing on in effect that we don't even know about. The whole idea of our economy getting better is really lost. I've examined the Communist Manifesto, which I believe that Obama's following, he and his czars, and middle class, destruction of the middle class is what it's all about. And ruining the economy, that's what it's all about. It boils down to destruction of the middle class. If you need a book about it, get a copy from me before you leave.
Eugene, you.
First and foremost, we must repeal the Obamacare. And we must tell the government they need to stay out of our private sector. Let free market dealing with. My 20-year business, the government has so much rules and regulation. On the top of that, EPA. The government has so much the rules and regulation that a small business like you and I, we just cannot survive under this circumstance. So again, we must repeal the Obamacare. That is, again, 20% of our GDP. We must reduce that, repeal it, so most business can freely hire more people with a free market. And reduce the tax for the small business, helping the farmer. The government, instead of they tell what you cannot do, and the government should, what can we help you to do better doing the business, whether the domestically or internationally. Thank you.
Rick Allen.
I've had the privilege over the last 35 years to grow this economy and to employ hundreds and hundreds of people. Like I said, that's a real privilege to help folks, which I love to do, provide for their families, and to bless other folks. This economy, I've been through 5 recessions. This has been difficult. 92 was the most difficult recession we went through. We had a major client that went bankrupt on us. Owed us $1 million. We could have thrown in the towel, but we didn't do it. Because I had 70 folks depending on me. And we got through it. Now, I will say that was the beginning of my real prayer life, those few years in trying to get that money collected and get our company. In fact, we've been operating 35 years and we've only had 1 deficit year, and that was in 1992. How do you grow the economy? Well, I'll tell you what hurts our business. One is the regulatory environment. Obviously, we got to get our banks lending. If you go to make a loan today, it's almost impossible. All the regulatory, and only 40% of Dodd-Frank has been implemented. For crying out loud, it's extremely difficult. Until our banks are lending, y'all, the economy is going to be difficult. In fact, our community banks are, they need help. But that's how you grow the economy, is deregulate and get money out there in capital, and we'll do it.